If you're an audio fanatic like me, or just thinking about how to upgrade how you're listening to music or podcasts, you have to know about Victrola. They have been bringing innovation and style together since 1906. I'm going to tell you about one of their products that I got called the Journey Plus. It's a great sounding Bluetooth speaker and record player that's affordable and can link to my other Bluetooth speakers. It sounds so good and now sits on top of my old record player. They have over 30 different color options, so it fits in any room of the house. And of course, I got mine wrapped in denim. If you've ever seen us perform live, you know about my obsession with wrapping guitars and other stuff in denim. But they already did it for me. Right now, to show off their online record store, they're having special savings like free shipping on orders over $35 or more, as well as a great deal of 15% off if you buy 3 records from their record store. I got the new Run the Jewels record. I got a Stone Temple Pilots Holland import. They have tons of stuff on there, so make sure to check it out. So go to makingnoisepod.com/Victrola for your savings. That is makingnoisepod.com/VICTROLA for your special offers today.
3, 5.
Make some
Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome to Making Noise.
Woo!
My name is Todd Johnson. Thank you for being here. With me as always is the master of disaster, the dean of mean, Mr. Jay Connor.
That'd be great, man. But like every time you do that intro, you always use Dean of Mean. So I feel like you've already done that one time on the podcast.
I don't think I've done it on the podcast
You hadn't
yet.
done it on the podcast
Not yet. Not yet.
Are you sure?
I don't think, not on this show. I've done it to you live multiple times.
Okay.
I'll come up with some new ones.
So this was the first time on the podcast.
Make note. Yeah. Well, definitely the dean of mean. I need to come up with some other ones. The professor of the university.
The professor of the confessors.
Ooh, the professor of the confessors. I like that one. That's good. I don't know what that has to do with
I don't
you
know what it
playing
means
saxophone.
either. I mean,
but I think it works for me. Done. You're the professor of the. You're the professor of the succession. Wait, no, not that.
let's not do that. Let's not do that.
We're on the brink of civil war. So something that's on a much more lighter note and much more fun is we have a Charlotte staple on the show today. You may know him from his nights playing at Bojangles Coliseum for the Charlotte Checkers as the organ player GreazyKeyz.
Yep.
Or from any of the countless bands that he's been in before around this area. He's on tons and tons, over hundreds of recordings, including being a Revolver, and on our EP, Use Some Company, the one, the only, the Dean of Mean, Mr. GreazyKeyz, Mr. Jason Atkins.
Woo!
I'll do the work for you. Yeah. Thank you once again for coming over earlier and stuff. We laid down some, Jay hasn't heard it yet, but we laid down some pretty sweet accordion tracks.
True story. So Todd played that song for me for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
And he sent it to me, and my immediate thought was, hey, man, that bridge would be really great with an accordion.
That's what we did. Exactly what we did.
That is. I still wasn't sold on it until we did it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I was like,
Why do you doubt me? Why do you doubt me?
Especially me playing it.
I mean, come on, man.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
We won't get into how many takes it took, Jason. We won't do that.
Oh, I know. It looks like a freaking Frankenstein's like punch, 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 punch.
No, it sounded really good, and we were building the song a little bit too as we were going.
Absolutely.
But so okay, you were telling me whose accordion was that again?
That accordion belonged to Rodney Lanier, who was
Okay.
a local Charlotte musician until he passed away a few years back.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was the group that he played in?
So probably the most noted group was a band called Jolene.
Okay.
They were signed to Sire Records at the time. This is back in the mid '90s to mid 2000s, but they were a fantastic sort of early on Americana
Right.
rock band. And Rodney was sort of the utility player. He played rhythm guitar as well as quirky keyboards and accordion, and after Jolene broke up, he had his own band called Sia Cortez, which he played pedal steel, and probably pedal steel was probably his most noted instrument that he played. And check them out; they're really awesome. They were like a 6 or 7 piece all instrumental band.
Wow,
really cool stuff. And then he also was the doorman / sound man at the Evening Muse for a long time.
Okay.
He was just a funny, sweet-hearted, quiet guy, but took no shit from anybody. So
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, so he was well loved and around the musical community, and had a lot of really cool instruments. And we would have jam sessions, and being the keyboard player, I would gravitate toward the accordion, and so I had a chance to play that with him. And when he did pass, probably about a year after he passed, singing about the accordion and wanted to own one, and that was probably the coolest one I'd ever seen or played. So I was able to reach out to his family and meet with them and talk about Rodney, and they agreed to sell me the accordion. So
Right.
now that'll be an instrument I'll never sell because it gives me sentimental value.
Wow.
And I've
Yeah.
used it. I've been able to use it a lot, and it's basically paid for itself, and the sessions that I've used it for, and performances I've used it for. So
Yeah.
it's really cool to kind of carry that on and carry on his memory that way.
That's so cool, man. It sounded fantastic. I didn't know any of that,
Yeah.
as far as that until you came in today.
Yeah.
But that was, it sounded fantastic. And,
Thank you. It's a great song too, by the way.
Oh, I don't know. We're not done with it yet. We're gonna absolutely fuck it up. Trust me. So how long have you? So you grew up here, right? Did you grow up here in Charlotte?
I grew up in Greenville, South Carolina,
Okay.
and moved to Charlotte back in 97, 98, basically right out of high school.
Okay.
And I had met a guy who was kind of from Charlotte, a guy named Robert Conrad. He had been in Greenville for a little while, working at a music store there, and I would come in and play the keyboards and kind of talk shit with the guys working there. And he had asked me if I was interested in joining his band that he had from college, a band called Satchelfoot, that they had all kind of relocated to Charlotte from Boone. And I was like, yeah, I would be totally interested in that. In high school, I'd played with a couple of different bands, and growing up, I had a musical family and had a bit large family on my mom's side, and had several cousins. We were all kind of musically inclined, and so a lot of times on the weekends, we would hang out and play.
Just jam.
I had a cousin play guitar, cousin play drums. I'd gravitate toward keyboards, and so that was kind of how I started, and kind of fell in love with playing music, and figured out I could play by ear.
Right.
And
How
like
old were
that.
you?
I was
give or take?
like 11 or 12 at that point.
Right.
But then, through high school, was able to play, and Greenville County had a great program called the Fine Arts Center, which you were able to kind of have graphic arts and visual arts, and then music, where you could audition and be accepted and take basically college level music theory and music history classes.
Oh wow. Okay.
And so my junior and senior year were spent half the day during regular school and half the day there at the Fine Arts Center. So I was able to take in a lot of
right.
information and a lot of education that I hadn't really been exposed to. I never really had a teacher growing up, so I was all by ear.
Right.
And so I learned a lot of theory that I just kind of applied on my own, just out of just being passionate about it and learning.
Right.
And so, again, met Robert at the music store, and had just graduated high school, and had started like my first semester in community college there, and just kind of burned out on school like most kids are. And so an opportunity came, said, hey, why don't you move to Charlotte? And I said, okay. Told my folks, hey, I'm going to move to Charlotte. And,
Yeah.
I did, moved in with a couple other guys that were with the band, basically slept on the couch for the first 6-7 months, living in Charlotte. But then, we played pretty regularly, and Robert had gotten a job from Greenville to Charlotte in Reliable Music, which was like, just an iconic music store at
Right.
the time. And after being here for a little bit, he was able to get me a job there as a cashier. So worked at Reliable Music for their last 3 years of being open, and working as a cashier, I met everybody. Everybody had to pass through me.
Right.
And so that was, sort of the gateway into really meeting and being more involved with musicians in Charlotte.
Yeah.
And
What year kind of was around
that would have
this?
been again, I probably started working there about 99.
Okay.
Or 98, 99, and they were open until I think early 2002, maybe. Like basically right after 9/11 because that pretty much sealed the deal for them. And then, playing with Satchel Foot for a while. Then as I started to kind of meet other musicians and sort of branch out a little bit, picking up playing with other bands and stuff like that.
Like,
and
how many bands have you played with?
I gave
in
up
the
count.
Charlotte area
but it's well over 200 different bands.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
just the amount of bands.
Whether one-off sessions or been a quote-unquote member of.
Yeah. You were definitely one of the first names when I first moved into town of like, this is a guy that you knew. And the first time I met you, or the first time I saw you was at Smokey Joe's. Yeah. And it was your last night doing the jam. Yeah. 8 years ago, or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
And
part one.
and exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Everyone circles back.
Yes.
You can't escape Smokey Joe's.
No.
And I also remember you were wearing a baseball tee with giraffe sleeves, and I was like, that guy's fucking cool. And you were fantastic. And
Thank
then
you.
I came back the next week, and that's how I met Colby, because Colby was your replacement.
Yeah.
Colby Dobbs.
Yeah.
And so the first time, like I was pretty nervous because the first time I had kind of gotten the Revolves together in a way where we could kind of do a gig, and it kind of sold us as like what we could do, and we had never really played together or anything like that. And there was Ethan Ricks on bass. I can't remember the full lineup, but it was my first gig with you. Yeah. And we were doing we were playing the Frat in Davidson. Do you remember that?
Oh yes, I still remember that gig. That was a blast. That was the drummer that stood up.
Yes,
I think that was it.
John Cuff. John Cuff. Yeah, so John Cuff
was
was a guy. He was great. He's great.
Yeah, John's amazing.
Only standing drummer I've ever played with. Yeah, I'd love to see more people do it, but he was just like a ball of energy.
He was.
The best part of it that I remember is I was like, man, I don't know, this might be too lowbrow for you guys or something, And like 3 songs in, everyone disappears. There's like 100 people. Everyone disappears. Yeah. And what happened was somebody had come in through the basement and brought all the beer. Yeah. So everybody left, and then they start circling up, start coming out, and it's a formal. So everyone's in, tux attire, and girls are, nice dresses with heels, and none of them knew how to walk in heels. So like the first dude up comes in, is like, woo, and cracks a Bud Light and starts flinging it around. Yes. It falls out of his hand and just smashes on the floor. Yes. He doesn't clean it up. And then for like the rest of that set, people keep coming up, and these girls keep slipping on this beer and falling.
Why is that so funny?
Well, the best part of it is we finish a song, and there's this girl who's like, what do we do? And Jason just grabs my mic and goes like, clean it the fuck up. And I was like, okay.
I don't remember that.
No, I do. I do remember you just going like, clean it the fuck up. It was just the best. It was the best. It's the best thing ever.
Luckily, I mean, that was not my first frat party experience, and not even my wildest, I gotta say. But it was right up. It was a blast, and I thought it was a great introduction to the Revolvers for me. So.
Yeah, it was fun. It was really. I was still kind of figuring out how do I run this band with people that we may not know, or how do we make sure everyone's accustomed and stuff. But I mean, you fit in great, and you were a big help for me in a lot of these times, because there would be times where I mean, even this year where it'd be like, okay, we're I'll give you a call and we're doing something with people that you've played with before. Yeah. And we've done this before and practiced it before, and we're very well rehearsed and very tight. And then you've also jumped in. I mean, you jumped in on ones where, and it goes back to you being able to be in like 200 different bands, and going around like for me, you're like that perfect kind of player to jump in.
Wow,
so I'm going to call you all the time on that.
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate luckily like I said, I've met a lot of folks, and people like my style and appreciate my playing, and I, my approach is I'm not out there to be the best. If that were my goal, I would have given up a long time ago. There's always going to be someone who's better, quote unquote, better. But my approach is, playing what fits the song, and not trying to feel like it has to be about me, or has to be, I got to, show off my fastest, best licks. To sit down and hold a chord. It says a lot to me. The tone of the instrument goes a lot farther than how many notes I can play quickly, and
Right.
and it translates, and also not being a jerk to other people, and knowing how to hang and be cool and
Yeah.
have fun, and when
yeah.
it comes to like you need me to, I'll call somebody out if I have to,
Yeah.
But
yeah, what do we
but
need to do?
exactly,
Well,
but
I mean, but you do have those licks. I mean, you seriously, you really are. It is good to have that to where we can even be, or even today, like during the session, we're like, okay, let's go a little nuttier or something, and
Yeah.
we can talk and dialogue it out.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right as far as like being a good hang.
Yes.
Or being in that situation, because there are people that I've played with that I'm not going to call back.
Absolutely.
That are fantastic.
Yes.
Yep. And it's just you can't.
Yeah, there was a band that back when I was a member of bands, I'm much more freelance now for the most part, but there was a band that, was sunk all my time into, and probably I would say at the time some of the most talented musicians in town. But to be around, like, they felt that way. They're like, oh, I'm the best in town. And
Right.
so it just, even with the core group of 4 or 5 guys, it just made it really difficult for me to like want to be around just that energy. It didn't matter how much talent they had or how
Right.
awesome of a singer they were, or how good the songs that they wrote were. It just made it kind of feel toxic, and I didn't want to be in a van with you for 3 hours
Right.
listening to you talk shit about other people, or
Right.
or listen, who's got the best cut down on the other guy in the band. It's like I don't
Yeah.
work that way, and it makes it impossible for me to want to play with you. So
Yeah.
that's being able to hang goes, for me, is just as important as your talent.
Right.
So
Though there are times where, and you do this a lot more. You and Jay both do it a lot more than me.
yeah, Jay's fantastic.
Thank you.
As far as like, he's okay. Don't fill him up too much.
I'm pumping him up, baby.
He's that guy in the van that just won't shut up. No,
Mainly, I'm usually just talking shit about Todd. Like, hey, man, have y'all heard about this Todd Johnson guy? And he's like, me?
let me tell you about that.
Yeah, let me tell you about Todd.
well, we could tell you about him if he'll shut up for a second. But the jumping in and filling in a band is something that you guys do. I mean, you guys do it great, and I'll still have experience with it, but I don't do it as much anymore as being freelance or anything like that. And I think that there's some people that are way better with it as far as their personalities, as far as what they could do, and there's some people like I think that I can do it pretty well.
Yeah.
Up to a point of, if I at a certain point I'm going to be like, I can't do this anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it's really interesting to see the amount of people who can handle that. You know what I mean? Like I've seen you in situations with with us or with anything where you handle it really, really well, of like, you come in and you do know that you, like, and I can tell, like, you do know that you are like the guy in the room that knows more than what's like maybe everyone else does as far as like a musical ability or anything like that, but still being polite to the structure of what's happening and who's called you in.
Exactly. Yes. Absolutely. That's important to me. It's like when I come into a gig, if I'm not the lead on the gig, if it's not a GreazyKeyz gig, if it's not a Jason Atkins gig, then I'm there to play a role.
Right.
And I'm not calling shots. I'm there to listen and to make whoever's gig it is sound as good as possible, so that I get another call back and build the rapport. So that's important to me. I'm not going to go in and snake someone else's show.
Yeah.
Go to the owner. Oh no, book me next time. I don't believe in that. I believe in cultivating and building those relationships with other artists and with club owners or bar owners or whatever like that, and not feel necessary to feel like I have to again grab.
Right.
Because again, I know guys like that, and it's like you can't trust them. It makes it very difficult. It doesn't matter. It's like they could be the most talented guy in the band, but you can't trust them. Then what's the point?
Well, it comes and it always comes back and bites you. Like that kind of guy or that kind of thing. It always bites you.
Yeah, reputation to me is very important.
Yes.
And honoring my word and doing what's right. I think it's probably as a smart business in any business is reputation and honoring your word. And
Well, it brings me to it was something I was talking about with Todd when we were talking about having you on here. And I was like, oh man, I remember the first time I met Jason. And the first time I met Jason, it was very much the same kind of situation that he's talking about right now. It was like a freelance guy, hired gun, coming on to a thing. I was recording an album with this guy I played gigs with. His name's Randy Paul. Yeah, and he had done this album called Smoking Bourbon. And the whole time he was doing it, so I was still pretty new to Charlotte, new to the Charlotte music scene. And the whole time we were going through that album and he was recording, he said, "Oh man, go and get this keyboard player. His name's Jason. I don't know if I can afford him." like he's like, man, it's hard to get him, it's hard to book him, it's hard to find him, and I don't know if I can get him to come do it and if I can afford him. So long story short, Jason gets on the album. Yeah. And then we have the CD release party at Evening Muse. Yeah. And I show up and I'm a little nervous, right? Because I've heard all this great stuff about this keyboard guy. I'm like, oh man, he knows a lot of people. I don't need to fuck this up. I should probably try to sound pretty good on this. So I was a little nervous. Right. Now I remember we were hanging out and I was trying to make small talk with Jason, build a rapport. And I was like, all right, man, so like, do you just play? And he's like, oh no, man, I got kids. I teach, I play. You got a gig? I could. What are you doing after this? Is this something I can make some money? And so immediately I was like, oh, it's a family man. He's like buying clothes and shoes and putting food on the table for his kids. Yes, sir. And going back to what you said earlier, where you said, I was devoting all my time to this one band, and then one day I said, oh man, I probably need to take all the gigs I can, and it changes your perception. And I guess what I'm saying is, do you think that would have been the same if you had been in a family situation? I
don't think it would, honestly. Yeah. When I came to Charlotte, music was my passion and my goal, and I literally said, either I'm going to play music on the side of the road busking, or I'm going to be playing music and holding my own and having a family and owning my home. And luckily it's worked out the latter. I've been married for 21 years with a beautiful wife who supported me 100% of the way. Met her at a gig,
Awesome.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Things. Oh yeah. Shelly's amazing. And we have, 2 kids who, my daughter Maya, she's her own singer-songwriter. She's 20, and my son Brady, he's 18, and they're both in college now. So it's just been amazing to do that and survive and say I play, with the exception of COVID, I was on my way to playing more music now than I ever have in my entire life. Right.
And congratulations on that, by the way. Because I don't want to interrupt you, but like that's massive. Yeah. To be like,
I don't take it for granted at all. Yeah.
You have this reputation of like the nicest guy in Charlotte to play with. You really do.
Thank you.
And you're telling stuff, but like the family and your kids are in college, and I've met your kids. They're wonderful kids. Yeah. Right, she's fantastic, by the way. Yeah. I would love to get her on the show at some point too, because she's
Maya Atkins is her name, and she's great.
That record is great.
Yeah.
And it's it's such a successful thing to see. There's a lot of people who have this like mindset of great musicians or good musicians. And I think it's been torn down a lot in the last 20 to 25 years, but really seeing a musician as a person and what they're into and what they do. And like, you are such a perfect example to me as of someone that does that. Cause you're a stand-up guy. You don't we've never played a gig where you're just afterwards, which we've all seen this, and there's never a gig afterwards where it's just like, all right, so where are all the drugs and women at? No. That's never, that never, like, it's just always such a nice, and I don't mean to be blowing you up. I really don't like you that much. After you leave, we're not going to say all this. I know, right? But like, that's such a massive accomplishment to still be like considered in a way of like definitely like a higher end, what I almost call like a blue collar musician thing.
Yes, absolutely. Blue collar is exactly right.
We're blue collar music. We're hustling. We're getting the gig. We're doing this. It's not coming from advances or royalties or stuff. If there's something like that that's happening, it's not enough to still getting out there and hustling kind of thing. Yeah. And to do that, it's like you're a perfect example of anyone who, to me, that wants to be a musician. It's like, just do it. Yeah. Just do it. Because you can do it and have a great life while doing it.
I'm very fortunate, I don't take it for granted. Yeah. I feel literally blessed. But it takes a certain amount of talent and just natural talent. Yeah. People who are schooled, who have gone to Berkeley, yada, 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 but who I would never want to play with because it doesn't translate for whatever reason. All the education and they could probably explain so much theory to you doesn't translate onto their instrument,
Right.
And I'm lucky that apparently mine does.
Like if you don't have a gig on it, like this year we've got to get used to it, obviously. But like if you don't have a gig on a Friday night, do you like not know what to do with yourself?
Yeah, and really a lot of that stems from like being a family man, and when my kids were young, my wife and I made the decision that she was going to stay home and raise the kids, because when my daughter was young, we tried, she would work and I was working and she was in daycare and basically the daycare was so expensive that it basically ate up one of our salaries.
Right.
And she was always sick. And so we made a decision that, at first, actually, I stayed home. Reliable Music had went out of business, and my wife had a decent job. And so I stayed home with Maya for the first, probably year or so. And then it kind of flipped where, Shelly had a job change. And so I had an opportunity to get a corporate job. And so at that point, worked daytimes at a job, played gigs as I could, and then developed a private teaching business in the evenings.
Right.
And then Shelly was able to stay home. So I was gone all day and most nights during that period. But my kids were able to be at home with a parent. And that was a challenge. And then whenever the recession hit, 2008, 2009, it happened to be the company I was working for was a subprime mortgage lending company, which was the
ouch.
Right.
Yeah,
that was a bad place to be at that point.
The one business that destroyed the economy.
Yep.
Right.
And so it was like, well, gosh. And so when that business went out, then I was just like, well, fuck it. I'm just going to play music and teach lessons. It's like that was already half of my income, and I was like, well, if I were to add X amount of more students,
right,
then it'd be okay. And that's what I did from like 2009 until about 2016.
Right. Well, it's kind of crazy. Like once you didn't kind of have a plan B, it's like, all right, we gotta make it happen.
Right.
And
I had someone who I had worked with at the company reach out and say, hey, we have this other opportunity. Would you be interested? And I went and interviewed and talked to them. But then when it came to make the call, I was like, no, I don't want to go back to that.
Right.
There's no more security. I felt no more security in having a corporate job than going and pursuing music at the time.
Right.
So, and it worked out. And again, my wife was able to stay home until our kids were basically in middle school, high school, and then she had an opportunity to go to school herself, and so she went and got her bachelor's degree at Queen's University in creative writing, and then
that's awesome.
Kind of developed that for herself because she's an amazing writer.
Yeah.
But then that then translated into her able to get better paying opportunities, so she remained in the workforce, and I again focused. Then I kind of began to work more with specific bands and work more corporate events and things like that.
Right.
And then got into playing, organ for the Checkers. So,
yeah. Well, that's something I definitely want to ask you about.
Yeah.
Because I was wanting to kind of like find the trajectory a little bit.
Yeah.
But we've talked about the Checkers thing. So okay. So they essentially were redoing Bojangles and then found the organ.
Hold up.
Okay. Okay.
I feel like as we're getting into the Checkers, right?
Yes.
I think that there's a big part of that we also need to know about.
Okay.
Which is the origin.
Yes.
Of the Greasy.
Oh, yeah, this is true.
Right? Because those two things sort of go hand in hand.
They do.
Yeah, that's true.
Because to me,
we don't want to give his Batman secret identity.
Right. But it's a huge branding thing for you, man. And it's something that over the years that I've known who Jason Atkins is I've watched evolve on social media and everything else, man, where like it's funny. I'll run into somebody and they'll have on a Checkers thing or whatever. I'll be like, hey man, I know that dude.
Right.
And they're
you got jerseys with your name on it. It's crazy.
It is. It's amazing.
Absolutely, yeah. So where did the GreazyKeyz name come from?
So honestly, okay, here's what's funny is GreazyKeyz, all Z's, GreazyKeyz.
He's so good at that.
Started out as an email handle.
Right.
15, 20 years ago. It's like, God, what's Jason Atkins at Yahoo? That sounds stupid. You can't even get it.
That's taken.
So, I was trying to come up with a clever email handle.
Right.
And I was like, well, maybe do some music. And I was like, GreazyKeyz. I was like, yeah, that kind of, I like funk, kind of like rock, and that kind of greasy kind of encapsulates sort of a vibe that I like to go for. And so, and I've had many nicknames over the years, but that one I just kind of came up with on my own.
Being one of them.
But so then a good friend, Jessica Borges, who's also a phenomenal jazz pianist and singer, she was giving lessons to the COO's daughter at the Checkers.
Okay.
And this was back when, I guess, 5-6 years ago, they had spent 10 years at the Bobcats / Hornets Coliseum.
Over at the Spectrum Center.
Spectrum Center,
yes.
right.
And so, I think my understanding is the relationship's kind of soured between the Checkers and the Hornets. And so they decided to return back to Bojangles Coliseum. And so that year they had decided to upfit Bojangles, like all new seats, brand new Jumbotron.
Yeah.
And I
knew they renovated the whole thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And so they did have in storage a beautiful Hammond C3 organ.
Wow.
There that had been owned by the city since the 50s. Since basically, my understanding is when they built the Coliseum back in the 50s, that was something that they had purchased and had installed there. So there was, and I've heard stories of the little old lady who played the organ for years and years and years.
Yeah.
I believe her name was Doris, and have a lot of great older fans who come up and tell me great stories about when they were younger coming in and hearing her play and stuff like that. So
that's awesome.
That alone is just amazing sort of mantle to kind of pick up and carry on, but to kind of make it my own. And so that very first season, Jessica was like, yeah, I'd like to do it, but I can't do them all. I've got a good friend who, I might ask, and she reached out to me. Like I said, I walked in and saw a Hammond C3, which for keyboard players is like the keyboard, the organ.
Oh, yeah.
The pinnacle, the king of all keyboards that, you want to play.
Yeah.
And so, and what's funny is to even turn it on, it takes a sequence of buttons and switches. It's not just a single switch. You kind of have to know how to turn it on. So I was able to sit down and power it up and play some licks. And they were like, okay, good, you're hired.
Yeah. We haven't been able to cut this thing on.
Exactly, pretty much. And so, and we were walking out, and he asked us, the producer was like, well, so you guys have any fun nicknames? 'Cause we get you jerseys and stuff. And I was like, GreazyKeyz.
Right.
And he said, great. We'll get you a jersey with GreazyKeyz on the back.
And,
And Jessica was Little Bit. That was her little nickname.
Okay.
So first season, it was kind of half and half.
Yeah.
It was her gig again. It honored her. She picked the gig that she wanted to take, and then I took whatever game she didn't want to take.
Right.
And luckily, I was able to take opening night, I think, for me. And so that gave me the opportunity to really sort of present myself.
Right.
And kind of create the persona.
Yeah.
When you walk into an element like that, a game where it's all lights, lots of sounds, lots of activity, what can I do to sort of stand out or make myself, recognizable and be a fun element of the game?
Right.
And so, have my jersey, but then I also put my shades on.
You got your glasses on.
Put my shades on.
Yeah.
Joe Cool.
Yeah.
I was like, put my shades on. And opening night went well. Great part. The opening night game, they would cut to me on occasion to have me kind of play whenever there's not hockey going on. Basically that's when I would kind of play. And so I had played some kind of fun lick and then did this thing where I hit the high note and like raised my hand like this, and the camera panned and hit me. Right when I threw my hand up, and the crowd just went nuts.
Wow.
And that pretty much sealed the deal for me. It's like, yeah, this is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And so from there on out, I just became someone that fans would gravitate toward and come over and talk to me.
Yeah.
And sort of get their pictures made with me and stuff like that, So I was like always one tier lower than Chubby,
Right.
But different,
Yeah.
Something that
still
kind
your
of
own thing.
Right.
Still
right.
really your own
Not
thing.
trying to outshine the mascot. I could never outshine the mascot. But at the same time, not only perform and play music, but then also become an ambassador for the team. Because, you have in the game, you have your PA announcer, you have your Chubby, you have your players, you have Greasy.
Right.
And I'm the only one that you can actually come up and talk to.
Right.
I'm the one stationary
Right.
And luckily I'm down near the ice. I'm not up far away, from the fans or from the ice. I'm pretty much right down at the bottom row.
Right.
So fans, kids can come up and talk to me and high five and whatever like that. So that to me just gave me the opportunity to be an ambassador for the team, to help, with, guest relations. You could say.
It's so good too. Like when you're talking about relating it back to what you do, because it's so much more of a kind of you're leading it role with how you're in your domain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're still able to hit the high notes and throw around, and take requests in ways the way that you do.
Yeah.
But still be part of like such a bigger team of like you said, the actual players and look, I don't want to. I know you're Charlotte Checkers and stuff, but I do have to say that I think you've worked a little harder than the mascot. As far as like, I know that you're like, that's what I love about your humility too. Is you're like, I don't want to take away from the mascot. I'm I think like he probably gets a little hot. And he definitely does a lot of work, but I don't think he's able to throw some of the licks off on the Hammond as quick.
No, it's true. And what a great thing about it is, and the team has just been so supportive, and just so welcoming and just so amazing to add me, to the point where now I have a dedicated GreazyKeyz.
Yeah.
I've got a dedicated cam, and they would throw me up on the camera several times during the game. And again, that just all that did was just kind of build it, and it drew more fans and and social media, things like that. People interact with me on Facebook and Twitter and things like that.
It's such a great team and just such a the
we're
way
still
that they
reigning
do everything.
Actually,
I know it's fantastic. It's fantastic that we have that.
Yeah.
So like when you do that on a like how tight knit is that as far as like run of day game? Like do you have like a producer in your ear and we're going between this person and this person? Like is it a very because it seems like it's a well-oiled machine.
Well, we try to definitely create that perception. But like any show, there's always the element of surprise. You never know how the gameplay could interact. What might be scripted or equipment can go down or somebody something happen.
Right.
But basically like a day with the Checkers would be. I'm considered part of the operations team, and so like an hour before the game starts, we would get together and meet, and then we'd literally have a script of any sort of PA announcement or any sort of game or any sort of commercial that would be shown anytime there's a break in the action. Anytime there's not hockey play, then there's got to be something else going on. And a lot of times they would have either the organ play underneath an announcement or just play something fun on my own to kind of get the crowd hyped, or they have a DJ. And so to me, it's like I had a great rapport with the DJ, but that, if anything, I felt like that was my main competition. It's like I don't want it to be only use the organ when we're losing, where it's low energy. I try to bring an energy that can match, if not surpass, a DJ, which is hard because a DJ can play anything. It's like I'm basically playing against every top 40 artist
and songs that we know.
Exactly.
Right.
And so I've had to sort of develop, my own repertoire of things that, trial and error, things that fans would immediately react to. And that's another thing is I'd have to come up. I took it upon myself to kind of come up with licks or riffs that were immediately recognizable within seconds, because during the gameplay, that's all the time I have.
Yeah.
Now, before the game, after we got done with our meeting, I get to go sit down and I would play. They would actually open the doors about 40 minutes before the game started, and players come out and do warm-ups. And during all that time, I'm out there playing. I'm just playing whatever I want.
Yeah.
Beatles, top 40, Motown, whatever I want to play, making up my own stuff. Just out there on a Hammond organ, playing in a Coliseum, just soaking it up, having fun. And then once the game kind of starts, then it becomes then we're on a script.
Okay.
And so then it becomes a matter of, okay, the next whistle that blows, the producer will be in the cans in my ear and be like, okay, next whistle, I want the organ to play underneath this announcement, or next whistle, there'll be DJ, or next whistle, just all organ. And so those moments where I would really try
Right.
to do my best and try to hype the crowd or get some kind of reaction. And that's where, just trying to, fun riff, like something, everything, from Jump, from, Van Halen or something like that everybody recognizes immediately.
Yeah.
And try to play. And then 10 seconds is done because then the whistle blows and they start playing again. So.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just fast paced.
So you just have like these like just the quick clips. So like Jump, like what are some of the ones that are just always like, like
well, okay, for the best probably of the past few seasons, always, any kind of Van Halen, Push It by Salt and Pepper.
Push It.
That was
okay.
that was probably one of the best ones. A lot of hip hop, like it was Still Dre. Something like that,
Anything that's got like a good organ
Exactly.
on it, because it's immediately recognizable.
Right, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so I would literally, like any off time, I would just take time and I made myself a spreadsheet that I would keep at the organ, and I would have a name of the song, tempo of the song, because then I was also able to incorporate a drum machine, which again helped me sort of compete with the DJ.
Right.
I added a beat to myself. So I would have something queued up. That way, once they called me, I would hit the drum, and play the organ, and then as soon as the whistle blew, I would get right off of it. So
wow,
but it had to be something that people could recognize, and then camera would shoot people and get people dancing. Cheerleaders started dancing along with me, like as I was playing, which so it helped sort of tie in all the elements at once. Yeah, and again, they would show me a lot on the Jumbotron, which was then transmitted to like AHL.com. So I started to get correspondence from people in Canada and things like that. People that are watching AHL.com, just hardcore hockey fans that, accepted me and see me as part of the game. And it was really awesome.
So that leads me to, excuse me, that leads me to another question.
Yeah.
How has being the organist for the Checkers changed the way that you gig?
Well, probably the main thing is the Checkers has become like a priority for me.
Right.
Like I'll make sure I'm available for games. There's always a couple of games a year that I can't make. It usually falls like my anniversary weekend or something like that. But pretty much I will commit to those games. And whereas, how gigs go, sometimes you have a gig and something that pays significantly more comes along and you have to call the other guys like,
hey man.
So I got this other guy, he's really great who can fill in.
Yeah, right. And again, luckily, a lot of folks are in the community who are serious, who are who know what the deal, we can work that out. Right. But that's probably the biggest thing. And also I get recognized from just folks around town. It's like, oh my God, it's GreazyKeyz, that's been a lot of fun, and I don't take it for granted. I'll just eat it up. I love it, and to take it seriously and really appreciate it,
Well, the Checkers fans are great. I mean, it's it's such a good organization and such a cool thing in Charlotte. I can't say enough about it. And the way that you've integrated into it and the way that they've integrated you is fantastic.
Yeah, and before COVID hit, I was in talks with starting to play the organ for the new Kannapolis Cannonballers.
Oh, cool.
So maybe 2021.
Hey, fingers crossed.
I mean, that would I would be like a full-time sports organist.
I was about to say, I don't,
because the seasons would
is that
line
a baseball
perfectly.
team or
that's
okay?
It used to be the Intimidators.
Okay,
and so Kannapolis, they've built a beautiful brand new baseball stadium there, and near the end of last season, some of their folks would come out to Checkers games and come up and talk to me after games. Say, hey, we'd love to talk to you about maybe coming to play the organ for the Cannonballers. I'm like, absolutely. And because the seasons line up perfectly. Like the regular hockey season goes from October till April, like early April, and then the baseball season goes from late April till September.
Oh my God!
So and they have like 70 home games. So I would literally have like 200 gigs a year just between hockey and baseball.
That's not counting the playoffs, man.
Exactly. Which also, and I was able to do the same
I was about
thing
to say for the playoffs. Yeah,
and I was able to do the same thing for one season with the Hornets. That was a lot of fun. Totally different, Totally different approach, but it was still just a fantastic time, and that happened to be where they were celebrating the 30th season with basketball in Charlotte between the Hornets and the Bobcats, and back to the Hornets, that they wanted to bring back. I guess apparently at one time they had an organist.
They wanted to bring back Happy instead of all that heartbreak.
Yeah, right. And so, so that season, probably about 6 games, one game a month that season, they had a throwback night where they had like the early 90s boards down.
Oh, cool.
Throwback jerseys.
Can we get that throwback team out there?
Yeah,
right.
Can we get Larry Johnson back out there?
They would bring out, Larry Johnson and all these guys would come out and they would, introduce
really?
them. The halftime shows were like Biz Markie and a bunch of Coolio, like really,
that's
really
awesome.
awesome halftime. And then, during gameplay, like they had me playing, and whereas with the hockey, I was only playing like when there's not gameplay.
Right.
With this, it was like, okay, we want you to play while we have the ball. So I would be playing the organ, and like with Kimba, be going up for a shot, and I would be playing and go, shoo, and he would sink the ball in, and so that was a totally different kind of thing. It's like I was actually playing to the games, to the players themselves. So, and that was a blast.
That's awesome.
I hope they ever have me back there, but the rapport there didn't build quite as well as I was hoping to, or maybe that's just something that obviously, with basketball, it's hip hop, it's urban, and I would try to incorporate some of that as well with what I was playing there too. But Oregon, I guess, isn't really.
Yeah, well, it's
the
thing of but that would be so cool to like literally have somebody live compose, especially while we have the ball.
Yeah,
it just makes. You can't have it like over time. It was like we're just not cool enough to get the organ for the other team. Yeah, the away team, you don't get an organ.
No, exactly. No organ for you guys. But then we had the ball. I would play, and it could be like the fun, the cliche,
right?
Da-da-da-da-da-da, all that kind of stuff. But whatever, it's fun. I mean, it's a blast.
Yeah. So. That's cool. I wish I would have gone back to one of those throwback things. Did you know? I for the longest time I thought Larry Johnson was my uncle. The previous center for the Hornets, because
you mean the previous power forward?
Power forward. Well, I was very young, so and I don't. I'm obviously a great basketball player, but so I would. So we had an uncle. I had an uncle named Larry.
Yeah.
And then we were all Hornets fans, so I'd watch TV. And I was like, "Is that him?" And my dad was like, "No." Like, yeah, whatever. And it's just in case you don't know, like how Larry Johnson is a very tall black man.
Yes.
That is over. I don't know if he's 6'4", 6'5", or tall.
I honestly don't know how tall Larry Johnson is.
He's a tall dude, and I got a Larry Johnson hat. And I was all excited about, I mean, we remember being younger and going to a Hornets game and telling like who's there. I was like, "That's my uncle," It's because my name's Johnson. And
everybody was looking at you like,
and they're like, "What?"
Huh?
And then I finally met my uncle Larry, and
you were so disappointed.
Seriously, I seriously I think my dad was trying to be like, "No, that's not really him." Like, "Nope, that's my uncle Larry." And so, I held on to that for a while. But I still got that hat.
That's amazing.
I still got that hat. Yeah. I would love to go back to more of a classic Hornets team. But hey, we'll see what happens. Colby Dobbs has a basketball podcast now that he's doing, and if you actually enjoy basketball more than I do and actually know what people are talking about, you should check it out.
Unfortunately, I don't know a look about it. And actually, that same season, there was a conflict where the Hornets needed someone, but I was already dedicated to the Checkers, and I actually reached out to Colby. I was like, "Colby, I want to play the organ for the Hornets."
Oh, dude!
But he couldn't. It didn't work out for whatever reason. Yeah. But
oh man.
Oh, yeah. Colby playing
heartbroken for him. But
yeah, I knew that had to hurt.
That had to be like a dream job almost for him, right?
Exactly.
Getting paid to watch basketball and like score it as it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how the Hornets fans would have done with Steely Dan though.
Yeah.
So for anybody that doesn't know, like Colby loves Steely Dan. So
and he could play it too.
Yeah, he can.
Man.
Really can.
Yeah. Oh man! So as far as like switching around on doing the different stuff for like recording and stuff, because you're on like a shit ton of records. Like, is there a record to you that you remember that you were like, this is probably the most fun I had, or this is some of the best work that I've got down on a recording? That you just feel really good about.
I thought about that, and there's so many. There are so many. I can't. It's hard for me to say just one because they're all so different. And and my role in most of those things is adding, background, like a little pad, organ, little bit of piano. Probably one of the coolest ones was this track called "Unspoken Understood" by my friends Gigi Dover and the Big Love.
Yeah,
where it sort of featured a bit more piano on the intro. So that was a lot of fun to cut, and I was really just over the moon happy with the result that we got. That really sort of, I think, spotlighted a bit of a style that I'm not really known for. A little more straight ahead jazz and stuff like that. That it just felt like it really came together. Really,
that's
nice.
awesome.
So,
did you guys do that with Eric? Did Eric produce it?
Yeah, Eric produced it, which he is probably my closest friend of anybody that I've worked with musically. I've known him the second longest out of anyone out of Charlotte. Robert Conrad, who got me in Satchel I was in high school, but as soon as I moved to Charlotte, Eric was one of the guys I met and started to play with a band with him called Wichita Caravan, which was a pretty awesome alternative rock band, with sort of like jam elements, Southern rock elements, but with more alternative kind of forefront. It was based from Eric, who had come from a band called Colorblind, which was a local original band / cover band. Mm-hmm. They had a standing Sunday night gig at the old Amos's. So Amos's used to be on Park Road,
right?
It's Park Road Shopping Center. And
so it used to be in the shopping center.
It used to be where like
because I've heard people say Park Road, but I don't know where.
Where like the Wendy's is right now.
Yeah. Okay.
It used to be where the Wendy's is.
Okay.
Yeah. It was on a little standalone building right there at the corner, and
they kept the same bathrooms.
I think I saw Craven Melon there.
I want to say
Craven Melon.
That
if you remember them, yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Like I didn't even live in Charlotte at the time, and I came in town with a friend of mine. He's like, "Hey man, you want to go see this band, Craven Melon?" I was like, "Sure."
Yeah. Huh. There and so he had a spinoff band with some guys from another band called Buster Rogue, who were like sort of almost like a Rage Against the Machine-ish kind of band, and had actually had some moderate success like on MTV and stuff. If you look them up, Buster Rogue. But their band had broken up, and so they kind of started this new band called Wichita Caravan, and had him recording at the time what used to be GAT3 Studios, was called White Room Studios, and they were working with Conrad Hunter and producing this really incredible record, and they needed a keyboard player, and so I got involved with those guys, and he and I have just maintained our friendship for 25 years, and probably back. Like he was always like, sideman / guitar player until about 2000, early 2000s, when he started recording his own stuff. And then it kind of snowballed for him to where he was able to kind of build a studio on his property. And
he's got a great place.
Yeah.
He's really good. Got a great ear.
Oh my God, great ear.
I love playing with him.
And he is so dedicated to music, and anybody who works with him always gets more bang for the buck, because he dedicates himself fully to any record he's producing, and the results show. And I've been fortunate to work on dozens of records with him there. Yeah. Because we just work so well together, and it's very fluid and can knock things out. And if there's something specific that he's looking for, I can usually execute it, because again, we just work so well together. And or if there's something kind of different, it's fun to kind of experiment with him. He's very open about sounds and things like that. So, but yeah, several different records with him. Been a lot of fun. I've had a chance to do some recordings for like movies and things like that. So that was always fun.
Really? I didn't know that.
There's several guys in town who do a lot of scoring for movies and TV shows. A guy named Joseph Stevens, who had a band called Pyramid back in the day. He now works closely with, oh God, what was the guy's name who's in Eastbound and Down?
Oh,
Danny McBride.
Danny McBride.
Yeah.
He works with his production company.
Oh, okay.
And so Joey's pretty much, he's the composer for most anything Danny McBride's involved with.
Oh, cool.
And so anytime that there's something that requires a little bit more advanced keyboard stuff, you get to call on do that. So
Danny McBride, doesn't he have like they bought like a mall or something, or like and completely renovated it to be like a movie? Like he's got a massive.
I don't know. I know he's got a big production
he's got
company in Charleston.
Or something. I think there was something where Like it's ridiculous the amount of work that he's brought and kept in the area.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean he's definitely one of those guys who could you know, got successful and could kind of go anywhere else, but he's made like a massive point to come right back where he was at. And it's like no, like my business stays here.
Yeah.
Which is so cool.
That's been a lot of fun as far as like, you know, putting check marks on some you know, major studio stuff. And I can say yes, that's you know, I'm credited with that. Like the Righteous Gemstones.
I was about to really.
Yeah,
I was about to ask because I watched that. It's great.
There's a scene where it's near the end of the season where was Baby Billy's wife is playing the piano and she plays "This Little Light of Mine" is you know and auditioning one of the sisters, but. That's me playing the piano there.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
Heck yeah, man.
So go back and watch that. It's like, oh, that's GreazyKeyz playing that.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
I went to college with all those guys.
Really?
Yeah. So I was at School of the Arts the same time they were. We ran in different circles. I really didn't know them, but Danny and David Gordon Green, Jody Hill, all those guys, super nice guys, super great guys. You know, it was really awesome to see them. Make it, and you're completely right talking about keeping the business here. You know, even from a writer standpoint, a lot of the writers that they used are people that they knew that they've been working with since they were basically in their teens.
Yeah,
wow,
it's pretty awesome. So
and I mean, and the work they do is great. You know, it goes to show like, you know, I think how much more smaller and local you could still put on fantastic content and put out fantastic stuff, and you don't have to be immediately in you know, one of the biggest hubs in the world or something. You don't have to be in LA or New York or something to do that. You know, it's really interesting to see that. That's awesome. I didn't know that you had done like some TV composition stuff.
Another guy, Jason Hausman, who has Hot Sake.
Oh yeah.
Also another incredible composer. I've had a chance to work on a couple of movie trailers for him.
Cool.
And he actually produced a hip hop track not too long ago that featured Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
So I was able to record keyboards with the track that has Snoop Dogg on it.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
So that's a fun little.
That's awesome.
A little feather in the cap.
I've never. I haven't met him, but he seems like a really cool dude. He's in the. They were super awesome. Him and Dan Hood were super awesome
fantastic.
to do the music video with us at the beginning of the year or whatever. And I was just like, you know, y'all do whatever you want. And they do like this. They're doing like a coordinated dance at their studio or something for the music video. And I was like, never met, like they just genuinely seem like genuinely good people.
Oh, they are.
That and the work, and I've listened to some of the work and stuff. I want to get him on the show. I've heard he's really is a very interesting dude.
So interesting. He has so many, not only with the music, but just other kind of hobbies he does. I mean, he's a genuine falconer.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Talk to me.
Like I've seen some of the pictures.
He was borderline. They were getting ready to start a reality show starring him with falconry and
just hanging with his falcons.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, it's a great, beautiful family.
Right.
Great talent. Was able to do some of his original music with him as well. Did some shows with him. But yeah, check him out. And of course, you know, Dan Hood is one of the most formidable guitar players. In town.
He's nuts. He's fantastic.
And again, it's down to earth. Just a great guy to be around, just to hang around with and talk, geek out with. He's fun.
So, what was the first keytar you ever had?
Oh, the first keytar.
You beat me to the punch, man. That was my next question.
Yeah, so keytar. Actually, I'd always been a fan of the keytar, but you know, it seemed to be a bit of a challenge because early on, keytars are basically like a MIDI controller. So you would have to like connect the keytar to another keyboard or a sound module or something like that. So it made it kind of more cumbersome than you would think it would. But back, I guess it was probably 2010 or 11, Roland came out with the Roland AX Synth, which was a keytar that had its own built-in sounds,
right?
Which you would think would be
obvious.
But that seems like pretty par for the course.
But no, it was the first one that had that. And so at the time, I was playing and still playing in a wedding band,
right?
And just wanted to sort of
be the coolest fucking person there,
or just try to help amp up.
There's an energy there, right?
Energy,
Oh,
absolutely.
yeah,
Bring
absolutely.
a fun party energy to the party band that we were doing.
Yeah.
And at the time, I mean, this party band, we would dress up in costumes. I mean, it was like balls to the wall, ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I played a gig one time.
Yeah.
With these guys. It was a little trio gig, and it was a place off of Uptown. Do not remember the name of it.
Yeah.
But at every chair there was a Post-it card, and it was hot sauce.
Yes.
And what and this was before I knew who you were.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But the one picture was you with the fedora, a little cockeyed,
Yeah.
and you were holding and you know, you had that keytar, and it was black, and it was a V, and you were right there, and you're like, ah.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, who the fuck is this guy with his fucking keytar, man? Like, I gotta hear this band, dude.
I had
like, and so like it totally worked, is what I'm getting
Oh,
at.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Like, I would hire that band to play my party.
You're right.
Oh God,
And
I got so excited when one night when we were doing Beagles, and I was like, and you were like, yeah, you know, I think I was filling in with you guys.
Yeah.
I think it was the happy. What is it? The happy party. I
No,
always
that
mess it
is
up.
that is a super happy good time party band.
Okay. Which I never get right.
Right.
But you guys were kind enough to have me in, and I remember texting you before. I was like, "Are you gonna bring the keytar? Can you?" Because I talked to you about it 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
And been like, yeah, I'll bring it down again. I'm like, dude, bring the keytar.
Yeah.
Just play nothing but keytar.
Right.
And it's funny because it's I had a guy, the first Revolver's keyboard player always kept joking, was like, man, I'm gonna bring a keytar. I'm like, that is gonna be the lamest. Do not do that. It's gonna be the lamest thing. And then
Oh, man, you missed out. You should have had
dude.
it happen.
Oh, and then we did,
Yeah.
and then we had Jason played at Beagles, man, and it was just, it was like, this is what I've been missing
People
everywhere.
love it. People love the keytar.
It was the coolest shit ever.
Yeah. And you know, I got a wireless pack for it.
So you
right
can walk
off.
around.
And
Oh.
walk around and you know, in the before times, it was very popular. You walk out in the crowd, people want to reach out and, you know, touch the keytar and I think it helped to rebook the band, you know, and still to this day, when I can, if I'm playing a wedding or something like that, I'll make sure to try to get a shot with the bride and the keytar, you know,
Right.
Just try to solidify the
Right.
image there of, it was a great party band and should be hired. So
Yeah.
and it's been very successful. And you know, I played with the band for a while and had to quit and actually sold that original keytar. But then kind of got back in it, and then I was like, I can't do a wedding without a keytar now. It just doesn't work. It's so boring.
Man, I need that
It's so-
guitar.
Yeah.
And
Jason finally got to stand up and was like,
Yeah.
wait, I like this.
And then
I
the
can move
guitar
around.
became sort of involved with the Checkers as well, because 3 seasons ago we were involved with the longest AHL game in history. Okay, meaning that during the playoffs, normally in a normal regular season game, if you have 3 periods, the last period the teams are still tied. They'll do like a 3-minute shootout with like three players on each side, and if that doesn't score, then they'll do a shootout where each player basically takes a shot at the goal.
Okay.
Well, in playoff, they do regular 20-minute periods
Oh, jeez.
till someone
Wow.
wins the game.
Wow.
And actually, this particular game was a night that I couldn't be there, so I had my friend Jessica a little bit show up and fill in for me because it was my daughter's birthday. So I took the night off to work with her on her birthday, and then but I was kind of listening in, after the party and stuff, listening in online, and it started going overtime. And when it went into the second overtime, I was contacting the producer. I was like, "Oh my gosh, what's going on? Is Jessica still there?" And they're like, "No, she had to go home." So I was like, "Well, if you guys go into third overtime, I'm coming in."
Wow.
And it did. And he said, "We're going to come on, do it. Let's do it because the game's still going, fans still hanging out."
Yeah.
Calling in the cavalry.
Calling in cavalry. So I was like, and I said, "I'm going to bring my keytar."
Oh my God.
I'm
This is
bringing
Calling in the
greatest-
cavalry.
I'm bringing-
This
Keytar.
is
I'm
the
bringing in the
greatest
keytar.
story ever.
And
Did you come in on a horse?
Did you play Eye of the Tiger while you were?
No.
Like, did you
well,
play your own music walking in?
No. Well, so I came in and just kind of, under the radar, kind of came in, sat down. But then once I got seated at the organ, he shot me on the Jumbotron and crowd got excited.
Right.
They started getting hyped. And so we went on another 2 overtimes.
Wow.
And so
that's 4 overtimes.
So it was literally like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning when the game finally finished. But on one of the whistles, I was like, I'm going to bust out the keytar, right?
Yeah.
And so we were again tied up, And so I busted out Don't Stop Believing
Oh, nice.
wirelessly. So I basically just started Don't
Walking
Stop Believing running around
Yeah.
the Coliseum
Yeah.
like crazy. People went nuts.
Right.
It was insane. People talk about it. Unfortunately, we ended up losing the game. I can
Oh,
only imagine
no.
if we had won the game,
Oh, my
that would have
God.
been like
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
Bigger than the Mighty Ducks.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that would have
it
been
did.
like
I did have
not
a
that
few.
that was a real story.
AHL like the Atlantic,
Wow.
Sports Journal, like reached out to me and kind of interviewed me about it and all that kind of stuff, which that sort of solidified the GreazyKeyz.
Yeah.
And
But just the dedication of that,
yeah.
man.
It's almost a legend.
Exactly.
It's
It
the
is.
legend of
Yeah,
GreazyKeyz.
right.
It's like when
Yeah.
I think about it.
Yeah. And so, I could only when they lost the
God.
game, it was heartbreaking because literally like
That would have just been
the goalie had defended against like 100 goal attempts or something like that, which is insane.
right.
And again, like
True.
it's
True.
like a
Who could-
7-hour
yeah.
game. But if we had pulled that off, it would have been
Wow.
legendary. But luckily, the following season, we came back and we won the championship.
I know.
So,
I mean,
which was awesome. And we're still reigning champs because the season got cut short last spring, and then it still hasn't restarted yet. So,
take the technicality. Sure.
yeah,
Well,
we're
two times.
we still have the championship trophy.
Hey.
You still holding the Calder Cup?
Yep. There
we
you
have
go.
the Calder Cup.
That's
and,
awesome.
And again, the Checkers was just so sweet and amazing that they awarded me with a championship ring.
Wow.
my very own GreazyKeyz
that's super awesome.
championship ring. So
Dude, how many musicians have their own championship ring?
I don't know very many.
You know, like
Yeah.
that's
I know a guy. We might better get him on the podcast.
maybe so.
I'm not really sure.
wow.
But yeah, it's just a cool little
Yeah.
opportunity that just being prepared as a musician and being willing to
Well, and like jumping in 100%, like you
Yeah.
said, like willing, like jumping in 100%.
Yeah.
And really taking it.
Yeah.
So you've always so there's two big things. Because I was going to ask you this earlier, and I think I want to change it up a little bit. I think I want to ask you two questions. Like, if there was any advice or anything like that you could give, kind of thing, but I want to ask you almost in like two topics.
Okay.
Like to somebody who's a musician, whether it's a technicality thing or kind of being in bands or differentiating yourself a little bit with being, because you're the kind of guy that's a band versus playing to arenas to solo, at a brewery around a corner, anywhere like that. What advice would you give in that scenario for two things, just as a musician, but then also kind of like something that's popped up through this whole thing is like a good, keen business marketing sense that you have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And and you're not really saying it in a business marketing way, but is there like the things that you're doing are massive steps to that,
Yeah. Well, to me personally, it's like what's worked for me is having a willingness to play, a willingness to do it. And like you said, whether it's me playing solo at a brewery, me playing at a wedding, birthday party, or me playing in an arena, it's just the willingness to step out and to put yourself out there, and to have fun, not take yourself too seriously. Because there's going to be shows. I mean, I play in front of 8,000 people, and I've played in front of 3 people or less, possibly. And being humble. Don't let the shows that you play, thousands of people, go to your head, because the day is going to come where you're not going to be there, and you sort of like let the music be what it is. I mean, it's and it can't be driven by ego. And again, being competitive, I love to listen to other players and learn from them, and not allow myself to be jealous or not allow myself to feel competitive.
Right.
Which is hard. As musicians, ego is a big part of it. And we want to feel like, yes, we're accepted because we're good. We're really good at what we do. But that doesn't work in every circle, Yeah. And but I always try to take away positive interactions from other, keyboard players, because there aren't very many of us that are out there, and it can be easy to be like, well, I'm going to outplay this cat, or I'm, better this and that, and I just try to avoid that, that at all, and try to learn and to compliment, each other as musicians in the community. be part of the community.
Yeah, exactly.
And not feel like you're going to be the one and only, because that can't work for anybody.
No, it doesn't.
Well, I know that whenever
sure.
I show up to a gig, if I see you there, I'm like, hey man, it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, fun.
It's gonna be a
Yes.
good time.
That's
Fun.
Exactly.
You know,
Yes.
and as sort of playing in that style where a lot of times I get a phone call, hey man, I'm doing this. Can you come show up and do this?
Yeah.
And not really knowing who's going to be there.
Right.
That's always a welcome when you see a musician like you.
Oh, thank you.
On the
Yeah,
other
and I
side
agree.
of the other side of the room, setting up, going, oh man, I know this is going to be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that speaks, to again building a reputation.
Yeah.
Of being a good team player. And again, that just shines as much as your talent does. Trying to think what else.
I think that's
And
always get drunk and smoke things that people give you that you don't know what they are.
well,
that's good advice.
I mean,
too,
if you can
isn't
hold
it?
if you can hold your own, absolutely. And also, I was going to say, invest in quality gear.
Yes.
Invest
Yeah.
in quality equipment.
Yeah.
I mean, that's another thing is, I mean, it's easy to get started and to buy low end gear, but eventually that's going to fail.
Yeah.
At the most inopportune time.
Right.
And put you in a really weird or frustrating or angry,
Definitely a bad spot for sure.
So invest in your equipment and make sure, cases for everything, the best stuff that you can buy, best keyboards, best guitars, because that's in maintaining your equipment. It's important, I think.
That's super good.
Yeah.
So Jay, he said that we need to invest in our equipment. So I'm getting ready to get on Sweetwater right now and
Yeah.
buy a bunch of crap I
There you
don't
go.
need.
I mean, okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
It'll sound better. It'll be
Do you got a credit card or anything?
I mean,
I'll buy you a new saxophone, except you'll be buying it.
that doesn't really work if I'm the one paying for it. Plus, I don't really think I want a sax from Sweetwater. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Yeah, let's say, man, it's so. I mean,
So real quick though, I know
Yeah.
that as we try to promote ourselves. You got some places that we can go find you.
Well, I mean, currently it's tough because, with COVID, it's pretty much decimated, as you guys know, a lot of our work.
Yeah.
So everything in there right now is kind of spotty, but, you can always find me on social media. I'm primarily on Facebook, Instagram, and occasionally on Twitter. But those are the main formats I use. Can't do TikTok or Snap. I don't really
No
understand.
TikTok. Oh man.
Oh, man.
I was looking forward to you
feel like
doing some really dumb dances.
I'm too old for that stuff, unfortunately, and I would really, really embarrass my kids. I mean, I already embarrassed my kids, but that would just send it over the edge, if I were on TikTok or Snap or something like that. But yeah, I always try to
is
stay.
it GreazyKeyz on all of that?
Yeah, at
All Z's?
GreazyKeyz. Yep. Tip tag follow at GreazyKeyz. GreazyKeyz. And yeah, so try to post things and go live every once in a while, and stream some, and hopefully be on some more podcasts with cool guys like you, man.
Sweet, man.
This is an
shucks.
awesome podcast.
Thank you
for having me.
This is a lot of fun to
Congratulations.
have you, man. Yeah, we'll definitely do it. We might have you come back out or something down
Would
the road,
love
man.
to.
Yeah,
Do some music together.
yeah, that'd be fun. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
All right, that was our interview with Jason Atkins. He's so much fun, man.
Jason is great, man.
He's great.
I always love playing gigs with Jason. Whenever I show up to a gig, Jason's there. Or
Yeah.
Show up to a recording and Jason's standing around. I
Yeah.
know we're gonna have a good time.
Yeah, yeah. The song that we will let you know, the song that we were talking about that we were working on, we will let you know when that's coming out. The song for that he was laying down accordion on. So stay with us. Rate, review, share the podcast, do all the podcasting stuff. Your rates and reviews are like our credit score. So please make sure to check it out. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week. Take
Thanks,
care.
y'all.
I wish you would rate my podcast and be a friend.